Hey guys, Jarretman here, back with another 500 Zoom video, just picking up from the last video. On a 15, I think this one is actually a fold in the cutoff. We're not going to open these suited connectors pure. However, I am 140 big blinds deep with the big blind and a bit deeper with the button. Being deeper with the button is not an incentive to open wider, but it is an incentive to change the types of hands that you open. This hand performing better. Win deep, of course. So table 2, I'm going to check back. And table 1, if he checks, my hand is pretty bad, but I do have some good turns. So usually in this spot on table 1, the worse your hand is, the more you want to bet. My hand turns some good turns, so I think I'm going to check it back. That's not one of them. Table 2, I don't hate mixing in a raise some of the time. It's more for full house coverage in the raise line because we do have a lot of stack depth remaining. However, I don't think it's that important. You know, worrying about full house coverage and easy fold table 1. Yeah. So we have 2 unblockers. He's never going to bluff with the jack on the turn. He's never going to bluff with the jack on the river. When he bets normal size on the turn, the bottom of his value might be a hand like 2 pair, which would no longer bet the river. And now we just have to fold sometimes, call sometimes. Do we have to call sometimes? I feel like I have a lot of king x to hero, 9x to hero. What is bluffs? Bluffs have to be like low pairs with the heart. Yeah, that's reasonable. Nine. That's a straight. He ran out of bluffs, like that's the problem, right? He needs to have like a 1 heart pair hand. Yeah, I don't know about that one. If we're supposed to call sometimes, then I have to call with that hand. With that number, I mean. So table 1 in these positions, when I open at 2.5, I think technically he's not supposed to have any 6-3 suited. But you never know if people do or do not. Either way, I think this board we're going to check back a lot. Anytime your opponent could have a straight that you can't, and the straight is the nuts, generally you play a bit more passive. That's kind of like a general rule. It's not always true, but there are some rivers that we're going to start bluffing this hand. I think even on the turn we can start bluffing this hand. We have some incentive to bet our ace-x, and this hand kind of performs well. Like, let's say he has king 10, you know, king queen, ace 10. Sorry, not ace 10. Yeah, just like random king highs. Even folding out random give-ups is not terrible with this hand. So now we can't bet an ace. Now we can only bet a club. Do we block any clubs with this hand? We do, actually. We do block a decent amount of his club region. I don't think this is the greatest spot to bluff, however, though. Yeah. Maybe not the greatest spot to bluff. Start with a range check on table 2. Sorry for yawning, guys. I was up all night. That's not actually true. I just went to sleep a bit later than usual. Could call the small blind here on table 2. Pretty reasonable. Let's add in a 1K table. We're gonna close this table. I have little time bank on that table anyways, I think. Post flop time bank. Sorry for the weird organization there. Once this table goes out, I'll move the other one in. Low frequency call, high frequency 3-bet here. Button versus cutoff. I think we might even fold the flop on table 1. Okay, so he starts with a check. It's fine. Start with a check here. Maybe I would consider it a little bit unnecessary, but I'm just gonna fold, guys. I'm just gonna fold. I'm not gonna say anything about this hand. I'm just gonna fold. You want to exploit me by checking ace high boards and 4-bet pots? Go ahead. I know it's probably not a fold, or rather, it's not. Probably is not the right word. It's not a fold, but I'm gonna fold. I'm gonna try doing a normal table plus a Zoom table. Gives me some more time to think and talk rather than play. I was struggling that last video. I know it's probably been a week or a couple weeks since this video will be uploaded. For me, it was just a couple minutes ago. Yeah, I was struggling to play and explain. I was timing out of lots of spots. King 10 off will call low frequency. Again, the rake really sucks for calling spots like this. Without rake, I'm very happy to call. We have a cooler going on at the 1K. So table 2, I'm going to play big better check. We roll 100, and I do think that it's fine to bet king jack some of the time, even without the club. I think it's low frequency. And 9-8 on an 85 will call versus that size. Obviously, we prefer to have the king of clubs. I don't think we're getting check raised very often on this board, but when we do, it sucks to have this hand as the only downside, right? I think it's just a high-performing bet with king jack here specifically, because we get called by queen 10, we get called by queen jack, we get called by lots of hands that we're ahead of basically, and when we're behind we have equity. Starting with a check on table 1 and folding table 2, hijack versus button. So I think I'm gonna have two sizes on table 1. I'm gonna have some sort of small bet and some sort of larger bet. I think 8 of diamonds really wants to go into the larger bet, and my small bet will consist of queen, mostly. Maybe some 2 pairs. Again, not folding very much on ace 9 6 versus 1/3 big blind versus small blind, but we're folding this hand. This is gonna mix table 1. I don't want it in my range all the time. Under the gun versus small blind, I think. Definitely close. I mean, obviously it's close if it's gonna mix. I really hope you guys can't hear that chainsaw in the background, because otherwise this video might be very annoying to watch, and maybe I should just stop recording right now. So a board we are allowed to lead. However, we can't lead range. We'd have to split. Yeah, whatever, we'll throw in the lead. Doesn't gain any EV by doing this, but I know how to play the leading line, so why not? Gonna go for the check raise on table 1 on a 15. Yeah, we're gonna go for the check raise on table 1 on a 15, I think. Check raise, check call, depending on his size. Gonna get an interesting hand going on both tables. So I think this player is capable of having raises with the total air portion, which you need to find. If you do not find, and I'm not going to lead this turn ever, there is some raising with just like ace jack of diamonds. Just maybe that's a bad example, but just, you know, some 2 random overcard type hands. I don't know if this is the thing, but I think he's mainly got an 8 or a 7, and I want to get called by those hands, or I want to induce some sort of raise. I don't think he ever has a king, so it's not like my blockers are very relevant at all. And now I think I protection jam always on table 2. If he has a flush, he has a flush. I'm getting stacked anyways. I think that, yeah, we just want to protection jam. Could be wrong. Another spot could be misplaying horribly. And he does not get punished. It's okay, we'll add some all-in EV to the graph. And he had a 7. Yeah, I don't know what to do on this river, but I think he's got like just an 8 or a 7. So I'm gonna, I don't know, man. I really don't know. I think my overpairs that check raise the turn still want to bet this river, and if we go too large, then it no longer makes sense. So I think this is a thing. I think we can have this size on the river. And if any hand wants to trap using this size, maybe it's kings, even though, like I said, the king is not really a relevant blocker. The only thing it blocks is king 8 and king 7 and king 5, which I guess you can have. Could have even bet the flop on table 1. Weird spot. In the replayer. Weird spot here with the kings on the river. Also weird spot here. So I'm thinking if I bet, let's say I bet like 1/3 or half. I think I just isolate myself to better ace highs and better hands. Like there's some protection from folding. If he folds 9-7 suited, that's a great result for my hand. But his calling range is just all hands that are better than me. When he bets this size, we will have to call ace highs. I'm gonna fold twos. We have a tough table. I'll try to play reasonable ranges. I think on 18, I'm just gonna fold. If I'm running out of time, I kind of just try to make a quick decision, and if I'm unsure, I'll just go with the number. So I think this will actually call sometimes. The 4 is a good unblocker in the sense that if we think about the types of hands that he can have that have the 4 of clubs, like Jack 4 of clubs would probably bet the flop, but now it's a river Jack. Let's say he's Queen 4 of clubs. That's gonna bet the flop sometimes, maybe bet the turn sometimes. Ace 4 off himself probably is never gonna bet that size. He doesn't open hands like 4-3 suited to bluff. So he can have 6-4 suited, which would have potentially folded pre-flop or bet the flop or bet the turn. So yeah, maybe if it wasn't a spade, maybe my hand would be a pure call. I don't know. Definitely cannot fold many ace highs versus that 1/3 bet, but we also don't want to overcall. So I just went with a number. Definitely not going to always fold that one. So what the heck is going on here? I just realized that there's 120 big blinds left behind, and there's 150 in the middle. Kings versus jacks. See, this is why you fold twos in the cutoff sometimes, guys. I knew they had kings and jacks. Saved myself 2.5 big blinds. Okay. Yeah, so normally jacks would just be a get it in pre. But here, they started the hand 200 big blinds deep, and you no longer are happy just getting it in for 200 big blinds with jacks, even blind versus blind. I think you would, as in, if you did decide to 5-bet non-all in, you're going to call off versus the rejam. But I think you're less happy doing so and more happy just calling. Going a bit more polar, trapping less. There's less of the traps with, you know, aces and kings from Nietmar's perspective. Okay, so it goes 3-bet, 4-bet call through 200 big blinds deep. We get a 1/3 bet on this flop. Really interesting spot, 200 big blinds deep, actually. I imagine there's going to be a lot of checking from the small blind's perspective. Pretty good turn for kings, the safest turn in the deck. And then he gets about the worst river in the deck, rather. Both players do have some 9x, so it lowers the value of every other hand in their range. Not much 4x going around, but yeah. Interesting spot for sure. So I don't think we're folding sevens with the 7 of hearts versus a third here. We don't fold very much versus a third. We're not really ahead, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, and specifically sevens, there's nothing else to do besides bet very large. I think we have more 6x than he does anyways, even at this line. Even though he's checking range on the flop, we do have a higher concentration of pocket sixes than he does. We have a higher concentration of 6-5 than he does, and then we have 2-7, so you know we're blocking the nuts. We're blocking the only hand that is happy to raise us all in. In fact, we're double blocking it. But I mean, we're bluffing. Yeah, we're also blocking his rejams. Yeah, seems reasonable for him to call there. Not a fun spot for him. I think that's the size that we'll just choose with our 6x. I don't just rather that's my size. Like I'm just gonna bet 2x pot or not bet. And I don't want to bet all the time. I'm not gonna bet every single hand in my range, for example. You do want to be selective. There are hands that have better blockers and unblockers in that spot. It gets very complicated really quick. And a lot of it is sci-fi. As in, there's no way that your opponent will be playing a strategy like that. I know it looks crazy, but I think we fold sometimes on table 2. Just being super reversed, but I think if it was versus hijack, actually, we mainly fold king queen suited. In fact, I think we pure fold versus hijack and low jack. I think versus cutoff and button, we still call. So there are some jams on this board for protection and slash value, whatever you want to call it. My hand, I think, just wants to call. Tough to go wrong with my hand. As in, it's tough to, other than folding, it's really tough to make a large EV mistake. His sizing choice is really interesting here on the double draw 7, actually. So he goes with this size. Now there is some protection to be had in value. We do get called by worse still. He still has like, I'm gonna shove specifically because he bet that size actually. And it, you know, we're beat a lot here too, that's fine. He has aces, he has ace king, whatever. We're getting stacked regardless. We don't worry about that. Like, we never concern ourselves with the hands that we're always going to get stacked against no matter what. Yeah, I don't know if this is allowed, I don't know if this is approved, but when I see him choose that sizing option on the turn, I decided to go all in, basically. Okay, we'll call versus the big blind under 94. I think we want to fold or call. I think it's like low frequency call. And we're definitely going to bet the flop, mainly when he checks here. A spot where the worse our hand is, the more we want to bet, I think. There's no way I lost much EV no matter in this hand, no matter what, with the king queen of spades, but I definitely might have made a mistake there, I'm not sure. I am not sure. That's so silly, like, we've been playing this table with one spot open, and then a different game, some guy sits at a random table, and that fills, and I'm not on it. So annoying. There's gonna be a checking range in table 1, despite it being, you know, king 10x. It's king 10x with a flush draw and a flop straight. There's actually a lot of checking. See if I can get a 2K. No. Not gonna play 5K with these people, that's for sure. Interesting spot if he bets table 1. I've been saying a lot of interesting spot, but it's true. I think it is an interesting spot if he bets. Seems fine by both players, I hope. I think we call if we could check raise on table 1 here. So he doesn't have 4-5 off versus my open raise size, and 4-5 suited will 3-bet pre like roughly half the time, and then we block a combo of 4-5 suited. I don't think there's a lot of incentive in checking this hand back. Jack 8 suited's a high frequency bet, 3-bet rather, and I think that 110 or check here is a good size. You could go 75 or check, something like that. You can also split. There are hands that want to do both. So obviously the 5 of spades is a double-edged blocker, as in it blocks folds and calls, and then the king of spades just blocks folds, really. So I'm gonna check this back. Starting the turn with the check on table 2. I don't want to 3-bet this and get jammed on, and then I guess have to fold on these stacked ups. And this guy raised jammed 80 big blinds. It's he definitely has jams at his stacked up, his current stacked up. We get to block a lot here on table 2, and I definitely think we get to block an 8. And yeah, he's just got a very easy snap call, beating some of my value. So I think here, if I bet this size, I get him to fold a hand like ace 8, which is really nice for my hand. And we have equity when called. Now I think we just check and hope he gives up some sort of hand. I don't think I'm getting ace high to fold, and I also don't think I'm getting ace high to fold specifically against this player. So especially not getting that hand to fold. You know, but when he has a hand like that, at least we have lots of equity. Sounds silly, but I don't like how many short stacks are behind me here that have a very profitable jam if I 3-bet this guy. Not that I think necessarily those players are playing the proper short stack strategy, but just something to be aware of. Otherwise, it's a very good spot to 3-bet with a suited ace in general. Being a bit deeper. That hand plays super nice. Start with a check on table 1. And start with a call on table 2. See where we go from there. Okay, so we face the split block strategy on table 1. Would I rather have the ace of clubs or not? What about the jack of diamonds? Would I rather have the jack of diamonds? Jack of diamonds, not really. Blocks jack 8 suited, I guess. We don't do a lot of folding versus 1/3 to begin with. Our destiny is to fold river, I think, on table 1, especially on that card. And just timing out on table 2, it's just a fold. I don't think there's a reason to bluff ace jack, even in those tight positions where ace jack is not that strong of a hand. It looks like the fun player left that other 5-10 table. So we'll just keep playing this one. Gonna do both here on table 2. Sometimes call, sometimes 3-bet. Calling versus the 4-bet. Again, sorry for the yawns. I think versus a very, very small bet, we're not folding, like a 15 or 10% bet, rather. We're not folding. I think versus quarter, we're folding. Yeah, this is a good size, I think. And I think we're calling. Maybe we're indifferent, actually. I think we're calling. We just do a lot of calling versus this size. It's just, and this hand will, on some runouts, become a bluff. Maybe we have to fold the flop already with 9s no heart. I mean, obviously we have infinitely better other hands. It's just that when we're facing a 14 on a 6, I'm gonna check and bluff the river. Well, congratulations, Yusuf. I officially have no idea what to do. I'm out of book, as they would say in chess. What are my worst hands here? Like, does he ever check a hand on the river that I beat? Does he ever have to give up a hand like just ace queen, ace king? Like if he has ace of spades, king of diamonds, and decides he's gonna range bet the flop, and then now he has to give up the turn, does he just have to give up the river? I don't know, man. I don't know. I also don't think that the hands that do check are necessarily waiting there to check fold. King 6 off is close versus 3x. I'm just considering, what hands do I have to bluff here? So obviously I would rather bluff 7s and 8s than 9s, because he can have 9s himself. That 4-bet as a bluff or whatever you call it, pre-flop. And then decided to take this line. Not specifically when I have 9s, because the only other pair of 9s would have a heart, but I just mean in general. He can have 8s and 7s is more so what I'm trying to say, actually. Yeah, that's a bad example, saying you could have 9s. Let's start with a check on table 2. We're going to play big better check. Two spots in a row that I'm not sure exactly what to do. So he doesn't check back many 10s, like ever. I roll 21. I don't think this is a mistake to check this hand, so I'm gonna check it. Not thinking anything other than, like anything deeper than that at this point, unfortunately. So what's he saying he has? He's saying he has a pair. Raising doesn't accomplish that much, though, I think. Okay, we roll a raise here. Not a high frequency raise at all, but a raise sometimes. So bad board for us on table one, as in we don't get to do a lot of check raising, and the check raising that we do get to do is built around a straight draw or a flush draw, and this brings in a straight draw and a flush draw. So I think we get to bet a lot, perhaps just our range. We might even have a call here on table two. I think this needs to call sometimes. Man, I wish I had more time. I wish I had more time. Am I crazy? I feel like that has to call sometimes. Again, I just timed out. I don't think I would have used that one as a bluff. I move it down to one normal table and one zoom table, and I time out of more spots. Oh man, I'm brutal. Brutal, brutal, brutal. It's okay, we're wrapping this video up soon anyways. So this shallow, I like just raising ace jack with the intention of getting it in. You can still have hands like jack 10, queen jack, king jack, tons of worse hands. Interesting, he's going for the very, very small 4-bet. Just interesting conceptually as the size, I guess. And we chop it up. Okay. Fair is fair. Gonna play 1/3 or check here. Checking back with my hand is reasonable, so is betting it. Obviously, we want to bet more hearts oriented. Blocking is continues. The ace of hearts is, of course, probably the best hand we can have here. On the turn, having the ace of hearts is not as good. I mean, roll a 12. I think I need to stop this video because I don't have enough time bank on either of the tables. I keep getting, it's like they know I don't have time bank. So I keep getting tough spots. I still block his folds with the ace of hearts here. Like, I think we give this one up again. It's so brutal. Like, his check folds are hands like ace 9 off with the ace of hearts, ace jack off with the ace of hearts. Like, it's just an, I just block all of his folds with that hand. Like, the 7 is nice in that maybe we have to bluff. Maybe the 7, just having the 7 is good enough to bluff, but I really think that we have to. So on the turn, I was thinking a bunch of hands that he can call the flop with and fold the turn are hands like ace of hearts something. Ace of hearts jack, ace of hearts 10, ace of hearts 9, ace of hearts 8, ace of hearts 3 even, but I guess the 3 would continue. No love lost if I have to fold this hand here. Yeah, the ace-7 hand very well could have been a mistake. So maybe we give up ace-9 ourselves. We give up. I mean, ace-9. I don't know. I don't know, man. So check back or bets on table 2. 10-8 needs a bit more protection. I don't mind betting it more than other hands. Table 1, I'm going to do something a little disrespectful. Three bet or call. Low frequency 3-bet, high frequency call. For me, at least. So of the hands, I do want to raise the flop here because we do have 10x that wants to raise the flop. Not a high frequency raise spot with our range. But of course we want some raises. He gets to bet range here. We don't want him to see every single turn for free, essentially. Yeah, my hand, ace-2 of hearts, seems like one of the best hands to raise the flop with, I think. Performs very well, gets him to fold hands like ace-8 off, ace-7 off, all the way down to ace-2 off himself. Gets called by some gut shots that we're ahead of, like queen-jack, or sorry, straight draws that we're ahead of, like queen-jack. Gets called by worse flush draws. Has an extra ace out versus his king calling range. Can call versus a 3-bet. Just has everything going for it. The 2 doesn't block any of his folds. Or doesn't block many of his folds, rather. Interesting. Interesting, interesting. Unfortunate. Versus small bet on a 97, we will go for a raise. We do a lot of raising versus small bet on this board in the first place. Versus cutoff, we're not going to call the button ever with ace-king off. Versus earlier positions, I do think low frequency calling ace-king off is good. Oh, whatever. Good old misclick for the video. So if we bet the flop here for a small size, he folds out hands like king 10 and king jack and even king queen. Hands like even ace 10. So I don't think it performs very well as a bet on the flop. I was saying call, so my brain clicked call. gonna start with a bet here on rolling a 71. Table 2. So if he checks, we're gonna value bet. We're not really supposed to have this hand, so I don't know what we're supposed to do with this hand, but I'm going to value bet. Versus over bet. This is weird as hell. I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with a hand that we're not even supposed to have versus a bet size we're not really supposed to face. I think it was super close. I think we do fold some ace-x actually on the flop here versus the raise. He's not supposed to raise this flop very often, and when he does, he's raising it with hands better than ace or some sort of high equity bluff type hand. Bluffing type hand to begin with. So he does turn a bunch of queen X in the queen jack, queen 10 region that raised the flop. I think there is some small betting from us after he checks back the turn. My hand is obviously too thin to do it. Sorry, too thin to bet any size bigger, I mean. Not sure exactly what he's repping after raise flop, check back turn, brick river, we check, and now he bets. He's repping. Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. No comment. Get a mix, table 2. I think that's a good place to wrap up this video. I'm gonna play some of my big blind. That person just left, so now we would have to. So I started big blind. No, wait, I didn't start big blind. I started cutoff, which is weird. Oh, they tried to re, but they can't. They can't re because they can't rejoin, too many seeding attempts, so because he called it at the big blind, so he just lost his button and cutoff. I'm actually just gonna sit out next hand. I thought I was the big blind, but I'm not. Oh shit, wait. Man, I'm so stupid. So I was the big blind? I don't understand what happened in that hand. I don't know what's going on. So I opened cutoff, he sat out in the small blind, and then now I started in the small blind? I don't really understand what's going on. Alright, that's it for this video, guys. I will see you in the next one. Take care.